Hey everybody, Stingray's out there. It's Matt Hampton, the copywriter for Stingray Branding. You all have seen me pretty good amount, I think. Pretty decent bit. We're becoming friends. Give you all a minute, see who steps in here in a minute. Yeah, just trying to give you some time to log in, to catch up with us on our Monday Marketing Minute. We have talked about web design tips this month. We talked about a little bit of content producing tips and SEO. You know, Ambria, our wonderful marketing director, talked to you about how to. God, I'm losing my mind. Ambria, our marketing director, talked to you about optimizing user experience and why that's important. And so today we're going to talk to you about some other stuff. We're going to talk to you a little bit about specifically website security. So I'm going to give this just a few more seconds, see if anybody's going to join us, and we're going to jump in because I'm going to give you 7 tips. I'm really big on numbering the tips, right? We're going to give 7 tips for website security, and we're going to talk about why those are important to you and what we can kind of do about those. Because when we talk about this, you know, we've all seen in the news, there's always a data breach, right? There's always somebody getting their identity stolen from a website, from some large corporate entity. And you probably don't want your small to mid-sized business to be the one that causes a data breach. Because, I mean, God, multi-billion-dollar multinational companies are having huge problems with data breaches, and you probably can't afford to absorb that as much as they can. So it doesn't need to be scary, and we're not going to make it incredibly crazy. We're just going to talk about this. So anybody? Go. I think we're about where we're going to get. So let's start talking about it. Let's talk about website security tips, right? And how we can deal with this. So a lot of website security tips, interestingly enough, are really common sense. Like, that's the funny part. A lot of this topic happens because we forget to maintain basics. We forget to talk about and understand the really simple low-hanging fruit stuff that we can do that can help us have a secure and safe website. So I came up with that. I did a little research, dug a little deep in my experience, and came up with this list of 7 just really practical tips that anybody can execute. Now, there's tons more than this you can do. There's some really technical stuff you can get involved in. And you definitely should make sure that you're dealing with professionals who know what they're doing in terms of web design and website security. This is one of those things where, yes, doing it yourself actually could conceivably hurt you unless you're really digging in and taking the time to deal with your website security. So let's get down. Tip number 1 for website security. Again, really simple stuff. Keep your software up to date. So we all have logged into our phones or turned on our computers or gone into some kind of program we're working in to discover that we have another software update to install. And we're not always thrilled about that, right? Oftentimes we go, great, I got another software update to load. I've got something else that I have to go through. Well, the reason is because the security environment is dynamic, right? There is constantly changing stuff going on in the world of website security and in the world of the internet and all of its goodness. So one of the things that happens is those websites, as developers are finding potential loopholes or weaknesses in their program, they're tightening them up and they're pushing out updates to tighten those things and close those loopholes. So now your websites, your programs, the things that you're running, the apps on your phone are more secure. Well, when you're not loading those for whatever you're using to build and manage your websites, when you're not keeping that software up to date, you're running the distinct problem of leaving a loophole available for somebody that wants to do harm, somebody that wants to steal data, or somebody that would like to do some other kind of harm to your website. So make sure that when you're running software, you're running the latest version of it. Your software developers are going to show you that information. They're going to give you the kind of stuff that they need, right? That's tip 1. It's very easy, right? Tip number 2 is enforcing strong password practices. Now, I'm a veteran. So any of my veteran friends out there, remember the military passwords we had to come up with are ludicrous. It's kind of amazing that I remembered any of my passwords from the military. But it's also probably why my passwords for the military never got hacked, because they were overwhelmingly complex. And that made for a very strong, very secure password that was very hard for someone to decipher and force their way through. So as we're talking about website security, this is a twofold thing. One is for you as the creator of the website, when you're logging into your accounts, when you're logging into what allows you, your WordPress or whatever you're using, make sure you're using a strong password. Don't use weak passwords. Keep the strong ones up so that way you're protecting yourself on that end. But even more so, it behooves you to have your users create strong passwords. Now, I know this is going to be a weird piece for some of you, because some of you are going to look at it and go, well, but Matt, I don't want to make them do overly complex passwords, because if I do, then what's going to end up happening is they're going to have a bad user experience. I get it. I understand the idea that when we make people come up with overly complex passwords, they're not happy. But by making them have a complex password that's harder to hack, they're going to have a harder time having someone break into their account and decipher their password from something that can be really easy. So you're doing them a favor as well. And you're further securing your website by making sure on the user side those passwords are enforced, and on your side they're enforced. Obviously, there's only so much you can do, but this is, again, really low-hanging fruit stuff that you can use and have really good impact right out the gate. So tip number 3, and this is one I'm really cool that I got to do some research and some digging on. HTTPS, right? HTTPS is a security protocol, okay? This is keeping us secured over the internet. We all know HTTP. Adding the S is the security protocol version of that. And here's the thing. HTTP is starting to go to the wayside. We're starting to see an increased use of HTTPS. Google announced that they're actually ranking websites higher that are using this than ones that aren't, because Google wants to encourage good cybersecurity practices, and having your website utilize a domain of HTTPS, a secured domain, is better than not. So think about that for a minute. This is what keeps your people, your customers, coming to your website. This is how they know the website they're looking at is the one they want to be looking at. They're not looking at a shadow version of it. Nobody's hijacking them and pulling them away. And believe it or not, people can actually do that to steal data from your customers. So HTTPS, using this is very often free. You can find the information online. I did several Google searches on this and was amazed at how seemingly easy this one is to execute on. And Google wants to rank you higher in SEO for doing it. So this is 2 birds with 1 stone, really. This is, 1, I'm protecting my user. 2, I'm ranking higher in SEO. Why wouldn't you do this? That's just my feeling on it. If you and I have the same business, similar websites, all other things being equal, if I'm using HTTPS and you're not, I'm going to SEO higher than you. So we all should be doing this. This is just good for everybody. Tip number 4, let's talk about that. Beyond HTTPS, there are several really amazing website security tools that are capable out there. Now, you need to do your research. I took some time in preparing this to do some research as well. Came up with some things like NetSparker, OpenVAS, securityheaders.io, Xenotix, a whole lot of tools that are great out there. Some of them commercial, some of them are free, that are going to help you test your system for, identify, and correct vulnerabilities as they pop up. So utilizing those tools is going to give you yet another level of security, right? We're talking all about how to secure your website. When we utilize these security tools, when we spend that extra little money to get a good security tool, or we take advantage of a really effective free tool, we're helping to protect ourselves. We're helping to protect our users again. And that's all going to reflect in your brand. Nobody wants to deal with a brand that doesn't take their security seriously. It's absolutely true. Tip number 5, limit user access. And when I talk about user access, we're talking about the people that can make changes to your website. And this largely has to do with human error. Oversights are often a result of human error. And as they talk about, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, you never know the quality of the soup that's coming out. So limiting the amount of users that you have going on, the amount of people that are digging in and making changes and shifting within your framework, that's going to help you. That's going to help you a lot. So just keep that restricted. People that need to be able to make changes, great, but don't pass out the passwords and create user accounts for everybody out there. This is just really basic stuff, which leads us into tip number 6, practice some basic computer security. Get down to the fundamentals, right? Keep your devices physically secure. Make sure your software on your computer is up to date. Practice your good email and download discipline. We all get those spam emails. At least I know I do. I get a ton of them. They go to my spam folder and they're gone for good, which is great. But we all know everybody's had some uncle who passed away in darkest Africa or in the Orient and left you a bunch of money, but you need to send this guy some money to get that money. Or, hey, download this thingy and I'll get you some stuff. Look, these are very, very common attacks that happen to all of us on a daily basis. So practice that good email and download discipline, and don't do this stuff that could endanger your computer and thus endanger your website. When you're talking about this, when I'm talking about this right now, doing research on this led me to kind of go back and research my security, just my day-to-day, how I'm handling what I do. And I discovered there weren't a whole lot of holes, but there were maybe a couple things I could do just a little bit better. I think we all could improve just a little bit. And taking that time to go back and look at your practice and go, hey, when I'm out in public, am I using a VPN? Am I just leaving my computer out there as I go talk and not watching it? Am I creating situations where these things could happen? Is my security software up to date? Have I done good email and download discipline? Or am I just kind of willy-nilly out there letting all this stuff in? It's a good thing to take a minute and just review and make sure everything's going well and good. And tip number 7, our final tip, and no one wants to do this, but in the end, ultimately, it's always good for you to be prepared for the worst potential solution. Or worst potential situation. So in the end, make sure you're able to back up your website. Back up your website with reliable services, just in case. Just in case, we want to make sure that your website is set up and ready to go in the event that some attack does happen and your site goes down. Because otherwise, all that work and all that effort is lost. Look, none of us like to think about the worst possible scenario, but we should prepare for it. We should plan for it so that in the event we have to deal with it, we can come back and get those things back online, have those web facilities available for our users, and be ready to go. So let's touch on these real quick. Number 1, keep the software up to date. 2, enforce strong password practices for both you and your customers, right? 3, use that HTTPS. If you're dealing with any kind of private data, any kind of information, if you're an e-commerce site, these are all things you should do. And Google's ranking your sites higher for having it, right? Research web security tools and then implement the ones that are effective for you. That's number 4. Number 5, limit the users who are adjusting your website, right? Limit that user access so that you're minimizing human error. Number 6, basic computer security. Like I said at the beginning, a lot of this stuff often boils down to the low-hanging fruit. But it's that low-hanging fruit that can end up with you having problems ultimately. A lot of data breaches happen from something as simple as somebody forgot a computer somewhere and someone else with bad intentions picked that laptop up and took it away. Don't be that person, right? And then tip number 7, back up your website. Make sure that you can get out there and in the event of the worst case scenario that none of us want, you can recover from it as best as possible. So that's the Monday Marketing Minute, everybody. If you've got any questions about these tips or you need some help when you're dealing with this stuff, right, feel free to contact us. Like Stingray Branding, this is a lot of what we do. We deal with building websites. We make sure that we're dealing with these in the appropriate manner and that things are being taken care of. So definitely contact us. We'd love to talk to you more about it. Regardless of whether you talk to us or not, take the time to make sure your websites are secure. Make sure everything's taken care of and that you're in the best possible position you can be, because this is really where you can get into a lot of trouble. Like I said, we all saw Equifax. We all saw these huge companies get hit with data breaches, and they absorbed it because they are huge companies. They can absorb that kind of damage. A small to mid-sized business can't afford that kind of damage, though. A major data breach could actually impact how you do business and could actually impact how you make money and earn. So don't put yourself in that position. Practice these tips. Talk to people if you need the help. Don't be afraid. It is far better. As the old cliche goes, but they're cliches for a reason, an ounce of prevention is definitively worth a pound of cure. So leave any questions you got in your comments. Awesome that you could join me for another Monday Marketing Minute. I hope you're getting ready to crush the week. I hope you've had a great day so far. I'm sure you're going to do really well. Megan, that's awesome. I'm glad these tips were helpful for you. If you got questions, throw them in the comments. We'll answer them. And join us next week, Monday at 3 p.m. We're going to start a brand new series. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you what August topic is, but it's a good one. So come on back. Check us out in August. Talk to us, find out what you're learning. Let us know. What do you think? What can we talk about? Give us some feedback. And if we can help you out, contact the Stingray team. We'd love to work with you. Everybody, have a happy Monday. Thanks for coming out there and listening to a little bit of tips on your website security and for sticking with us for this series. So this was your series on website tips. This was your Monday Marketing Minute on website security tips. I'm Matt Hampton with Stingray Branding. I'll see y'all later.